how much do you know about cryptocurrency? I mean, apart from obviously your son, and
Yeah.
the libertarian undertones and against the Federal Reserve or things of that nature.
Well, I've been a long time student of the what I call the gold standard in our currency, and that having been gone and understanding the debt and the long term concern about our debt. So no, I totally get the cryptocurrency cause. I'm hugely supportive of it. I'm mostly hugely supportive of it because it takes that whole ability to deflate our currency out of the hands of a centralized government. So the problem with it being market based is it's so, as we know very well the last few months, it's so volatile that it's really hard to be a reliable currency at this point. So my view is that Bitcoin is going to become effectively the gold reserve behind the altcoins. That some altcoins will become transactional in nature and stable, and those will be the ones that become very valuable.
Sure. Where do you see Nexus going? Let's get a figure.
Yeah, so well, I'm not going to predict where it's going to go in
Nah.
dollars. I put a few dollars in it years ago, and it turned into more than I ever thought it would. So I know enough to know not to predict that stuff. It's so crazy, but I think despite the fact that my son's involved with it, it's a good group of people, and I'm really pleased with the business people that have surrounded him, and that's exactly what he needed. He's a smart kid, and he's now surrounded by some really good business folks that are both very ethical but very smart and good at making this into a workable system. So I'm pretty optimistic about Nexus being a long-term potential for that stable currency. It may end up having other uses. We're not smart enough to know where these things go.
Yeah.
So Nexus may become transactional in the sense of tokens for satellite networks or something of that nature. That comes out of this sort of collaboration. It's really hard to know where the market's going to land out, but Nexus is going to play a big part of it, I think,
Sure.
because of its ability to scale.
And
Plain
that's
simple.
I love Colin's vision. I mean, because it's all about it's us, as he said. My favorite picture, I mean, apart from me tearing up standing next to Ron Paul, but my other favorite picture from the conference is Colin holding up the U and the S from the Nexus on the stage.
Right.
And as he said over and over, Nexus is us. And it's a connection of
Us.
great like-minded people, and it's amazing.
Yeah. I can tell you, having known him from the time he was a little kid, he always was very generous, and he always was overly generous, I always thought, but I'm starting to see where that's led him, and it's a good place.
As a father, did you see this coming? Did you think that this is what he would end up doing with his life? I meant to ask him when we had him on 2 weeks ago if he felt pressure, like having a father who was actually like a rocket scientist. I've never felt that pressure before. My father's an electrician who I love very much and I'm very proud of, but the pressures may be a little bit different. I meant to ask him, but we didn't get to it. Did you see him taking this route in life, or what'd you think would end up?
I didn't. I've always just wished for my kids that they find something they're passionate about. So when he was a young child, I was always trying to search with him to help him find those things he was passionate about and to enable him to do those things. And it turned out he was passionate about computers from the time he was so little he could use one. And as we watched him grow into that, he started programming games and doing some pretty amazing stuff with computers. I'm no fool with computers either, and he far surpassed me by the time he was 10 years old. And then he disappeared into his hippy dippy stage at about age 18 and went off into Bisbee doing whatever he did down there, and ended up that's the time when he invented Nexus. And he was walking around Arizona in the bare feet in the summer, looking like he belonged with the homeless, and for a while I thought this kid's really, up to nothing here, and I'm going to end up having to support him. And then when Nexus hit, he suddenly grew up like a 10 years in about 12 months. So it's been a real pleasure to watch. I'm real proud of him, and it's really a surprise for me, and it's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I'm gonna let the ADD take over for a second and guide us in a right turn here. In the news right now, we have on the topic of fatherhood and raising your children and trying to guide them in some sort of way. I'm a father of a 4-year-old. He'll be 4 next week. Moses is expecting his first son coming up in a few months here. We have another school shooting, another mass shooting with somebody who was obviously very troubled. There were warnings. There were attempts to kind of address this issue, and it seems that the police down there and the FBI kind of dropped the ball a couple times. What do you think is missing now in parenthood that is guiding or not guiding, a lack of guidance in these kids' lives, where we're seeing these mass shootings and we're seeing, these liberal, I don't want to say liberal, but these snowflakes who seem to have no direction but are guided strictly by emotion and not logic. What do you think is missing?
Tell me how you really feel.
What do you think is missing here from the time when you were raising Colin and your other children?
I always tried to raise my kids to have, a sense of honor in the sense that they could be proud of themselves and what they've done. And I think that's what's really missing, if I have to say so, in the rest of the society, that it's become a more materialistic or a more power-focused sort of existence. And, you can't blame a lot of these kids. They're raised by parents that seem to not give a crap about them and seem to give a crap more about, going out and having a good time, getting drunk, getting laid, whatever it is they're doing. And they leave their kids to raise themselves. Kids are just humans in training. They are not humans on their own. They have to be trained. And, I think that I'm a big fan of the Japanese samurai warrior culture. And, that sense of honor and duty that comes from being a part of humanity, I think is something that's really missing from our society. And, it was not always there completely, but it seems like it's really become unpopular. And, you're considered old-fashioned for thinking these things, but I still live by that code.
That's great. Jim, I know you said you only had a half hour. I creeped right over that half hour. We appreciate you coming on. I know you got other places to go.
Cool.
We'd love to have you on again.
We'll do it again.
That'd be great.
Excellent. We actually have Colin just tuned into the chat. He's watching the video now. Anything you want to say to Colin? Anything at all? Right now.
Hey, buddy, we're going racing this weekend, man. Come see us.
That's why we got to have you on again, because I want to talk cars. And
yes.
I want to talk racing. There's so much to talk to you about. So whenever you want to come on, we told Colin the same thing. You're welcome to be a guest host with us every week if you'd like.
Okay, sounds
free
good.
up your Fridays.
We're just going to, and we'll give you your own segment. And what you do is you tell Elon stories.
Yeah. You guys are impinging on my martini time here. So
I'm very sorry.
Sorry about that.
You could have had it with us. I mean, we're having beers.
Yeah, we're having beers. One last question. If Elon was successful tomorrow in being able to launch humans to Mars, would you take a seat on that trip?
Oh, there's no racetracks on Mars, man.
But there is a Tesla.
There will be.
It's floating around there somewhere. All right. Thanks, Jim. It was a pleasure. It was a good time. Hopefully, we'll have you on. I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Thanks, Jim.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Jim.
Expect my resume.